You lift weights, you walk, maybe even get a little impact. You take your supplements, but that darn DEXA scan says your bone density is still low. Been there. In my new Walk and Learn, we talk all about this and why it might not be your fault today. I'll explain what your past, your hormones, and what your expectations might have to do with it. Grab your earbuds and let's walk and learn. All right, let's get going. By the way, I am at the top of a hill that I can walk behind my house. It actually belongs to Escondido Creek Conservancy. If you take a quick glance before we get started, way out in the distance, that's the beach, that's the ocean. We were able to walk up here. We have to walk up here. I'm a land steward and I'm supposed to walk at least once a week so I can get an eye on things, make sure there's nothing bad going on, and I write a report once a month. It's a rough job. I'm just kidding. I absolutely love it. It's this early morning, so the shadows are a bit strange, but anyway, what I really don't want you to do is watch this unless maybe you're on a treadmill or an elliptical. I want your earbud in your ear. We're going to be walking, and we're going to do a 3-by-1, 3 minutes slow, 1 minute fast. And because we're going to be talking about bone health, during that 1 minute, I'm going to be introducing some bone building moves, which means a little bit of impact. Okay? We'll talk about that during the 1 minute intervals. 3 minutes walking slow. I'm going to be sharing why you're doing everything right, but that bone density DEXA scan score is still low. All right, let's get going. I'm setting my timer. First and foremost, posture all the time. Abs slightly engaged, shoulders back and down. You want to be walking heel to toe and looking ahead of you and glancing down so your chin is not stuck down. It's hard for me when I'm walking on these not even surfaces that I don't trip because I don't want to fall. But I also know I don't want that head forward because that promotes poor posture. That poor upper spine has to hold our fat, heavy head, and it takes a lot of work. And so it puts down bone and cartilage, and we don't want that old lady hump. So get that chin up, okay? Plus, having your chin down causes chin wrinkles. We don't want those. That scared you, didn't it? All right, so wait, what? That was my reaction when I got my first DEXA scan. Okay, warm-up's done. Now this is starting the official 3 minute slow, or 3 minute walk slow. It's really just a warm-up right now. I was 58. I had done one of those osteoporosis risk assessments, and I was at high risk. For one, my mom had osteoporosis. I was tall. I had thin bones, a European descent. What else? I had some skinny years, not so healthy years when I was younger. So I said, you know what? I'm going to pay for it out of pocket. So I went to one of those places where they do imaging, and I got a DEXA scan. And I had been doing them all since probably once I got into college, I started strength training, but I didn't get real serious and cut out all the cardio until probably my 40s. But I had been strength training, walking, running a little bit back then, eating healthy, taking my supplements. I thought I was a health coach. I thought I was doing everything right. So when those numbers showed that I had had osteopenia, which is low bone density, I was floored. I cried. I sat in my car and I cried. Maybe you've been there too. You're working really hard, but the results on paper don't seem to match your efforts. The truth is, there's more to bone health than meets the eye. And sometimes the reasons have roots decades. This was mind-blowing, decades earlier. So I'm going to dig into all of this, and we're going to have an action plan at the end, okay? Keep walking slow. We'll do our first bone building interval in just a minute 15. Okay, what a DEXA scan actually measures. A DEXA is short for dual energy X-ray absorptiometry, okay? It measures bone mineral density, BMD. Basically, it's how much calcium and other minerals are packed into your bones. you'll get two numbers. You'll get a T-score, which compares your bone density to that of a healthy 30-year-old woman. Normal is above minus 1.0. Osteopenia is between minus 1 and minus 2.5. Okay, so have any of you seen a bell curve on a graph where the highest point is in the center and then it comes down to the low points on each side? That highest point is 0, and that is where they estimate you as a 30-year-old. That's what they estimate your bone density to be, and it's an average of many, many scores. And I'll get more into that in just a second. We're going to do a minute of bone building, okay? The first thing I want you to do is just walk at a faster pace so you're getting a little bit more impact to the ground. Okay, if you want to take a little break, you can, and look around. I'm walking down the hill now. It's a backcountry road that I get to walk. The Conservancy is working to repopulate, replant an old avocado grove. Years and years and years of the avocados being out there. Invasive plants and species came in, and we're trying to get rid of those invasives and plant natural. It's a lot of work, but it's happening, and it's just so beautiful. And this happened to be a really beautiful morning. Okay, keep going. 10 more seconds, just walking at a little bit more intensity. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so you see that bell curve graph. That's at the center, a prediction of where you were in your 30s. Now, when you go on the low end, minus 1 from 0 to minus 2.5, says that you have osteopenia. Lower than minus 2.5 is osteoporosis. So right there, that score has errors. It has no idea where you were at in your 30s. That may be your normal. You don't know if that's what your normal is for bone density. There's also another score that's the Z-score, and that compares your bone density to a woman your age, okay? Typically, those are a little bit better, and a Z-score might not tell you have osteoporosis because they know more about women in their 60s and 70s and 80s, and so you might get a better score there. Okay, so when you measure your T-score and it comes back low, it really doesn't mean that your bones are weak and they're going to break tomorrow. It just means your density isn't as high as that 30-year-old benchmark. I'm putting benchmark in quotes. And that's where understanding your whole story matters, okay? You're walking slow at a nice pace. The decades that built or broke your bones. Bone density peaks at around age 30. People think that's around. Did you hear that? After that, we naturally start to lose it, slowly at first and then faster after menopause. And menopause is just when our ovaries shut down and we're not producing any estrogen or progesterone and very little testosterone. So looking back, I realized that some of the habits I had in my 20s, yikes, 30s, worse, probably played a role, a major role, in my results decades later. I wasn't lifting heavy weights regularly. My sole purpose in my 20s and 30s was to be skinny. And what I knew back then was eating very little food and exercising till I dropped. I ran. I dieted like crazy. I wouldn't say dabbled in. I started out probably having an eating disorder where I limited my food. And if I did eat too much, I'm embarrassed to say I have done the purge or eating laxatives or anything to be staying skinny. And I just kick myself now because it was eating away at my bone bank. And I wasn't lifting weights regularly. I started to lift weights, but I wasn't doing a lot. I was spending time in the sun hold on. Okay, we're going to do a bone building interval. I'm going to make a note. I'm talking about being outdoors. So what we're going to do now is, if you could stop, I'm going to be walking here on if you're on a treadmill, maybe you run just a little, get a little bit more impact. But what I want you to do is come up on your toes and then bring your heels down with force. Those are called heel drops. What it does is it sends an impact through your body that says, oh, Amy's doing something. I better put some cells to work to build some bone density. It's called an osteoblast. You want to build that bone. That's really what's happening when we start getting older, is the osteoblasts that we're getting diminish, but the osteoclasts that are remodeling and getting rid of old bone get more and more and more. They take over. The balance is out of whack. When we're younger, we're building more bone than we're remodeling and taking away the old bone. Now you can walk slow. And then when we get older, we're not building enough bone. We're taking away too much of our bone. Okay, so I was getting some outdoors. I was still sunbathing, but when I got into my 30s and my 40s, it was sunscreen to combat age spots and wrinkles and some skin cancer. I started getting worried about skin cancer, but I was getting less vitamin D. I wasn't supplementing back then, which bones need to absorb the calcium. And then this horrible restricted dieting, just restricting whole groups of foods like carbs and dairy, and God knows what diet I was on. And then, of course, the perimenopause, menopause, the drop in estrogen, up to 20% in the first few years after menopause, our bones start to lose. It's a lot. It's a slope, not a nice ramp. It's a steep slope. The message here isn't to blame ourselves for the past, okay? The past is the past. We cannot change that. But what we need to do is understand why it might be happening and not blame ourselves right now for what we're doing. What you're doing now may only help you maintain. You might not be able to get back to building more bone, but you're not going to lose any more bone. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's do doing something. This is the next subject. Okay, doing something right still has its limits. When women tell me that they're doing all the right things, lifting weights, eating calcium-rich foods, taking D and K2, yet their bone density hasn't improved, I get it. In fact, I had the bone density at 58, and then I had another one at 62, but I had undergone cancer, and so the medicine that I was on was making my body even more susceptible to bone depletion as opposed to bone building. The osteoclasts were winning the race for me while I was on that. I'm right now not on it because I got really scared of bone density, more scared than my cancer coming back, because I am cancer-free right now. Here's the truth. Bone density change is very slow, and not all bones respond the same way. Studies show that even with consistent strength training and good nutrition, gains in bone density might only be 1 to 3% per year, if at all. That's what I mentioned earlier. But what does change more noticeably is bone quality, the internal strength and structure that helps prevent fractures, which is really all that we're striving for. Okay, we're going to do a minute of bone building. So you can do a couple things. You can go back to heel drops. You can keep walking maybe at a faster pace. You can do a jog. You can do some stomps. You can do some light jumps. I'm just going to let you do what you want to do for 1 minute. Taking a deep breath. You can pause and take a stretch if that's where you're at too. I am going to take a sip of water. You can do that as well. I get to talking, my mouth gets so dry. Okay, 15 more seconds. Maybe walking a little faster. I am walking through which they just weeded, a real dense place. And it was wobbly. And, I was a little bit worried about my ankles wobbly because of gopher holes and sticks and ruts and stuff. Okay, let's walk slow. But I know that wobble is also good for my ankles. That's helping build ankle support and strength and bones as well, because you are challenging your body. If you've been doing nothing and you get up and walk, that's bone building. If you've been walking for a long time, you have to mix it up. Your bones need a challenge. You have to mix it up and do things differently to really get bone building blasts. Okay, so let's see. I'm talking about preventing fractures. That's what we're really trying to do. Who cares about bone mineral density? We just don't want to break a bone, right? Okay, that's why your DEXA results only tell part of the story. A T-score cannot measure your trabecular bone score. You've got two types of bone. You've got cortical, which is the outside of your bone, and you've got trabecular, which is the inner spongy bone structure. Think about, I heard a podcast, I don't remember who said it. Darn it. She did the analogy of our bones to an M&M. That hard candy shell, that's our cortical bone, and then the inner chocolate, the gooey chocolate, is the trabecular bone, spongy bone structure, which is actually the living and growing part of our bones. It can't measure your muscle strength, which protects your bones. It can't measure your balance and your coordination, which prevents your falls. Again, ultimately, what we're trying to do in anything that we're doing for our bone health is to prevent bones from breaking. Okay, so your soft density, so your bone density numbers if they don't move much, it doesn't mean your efforts aren't working. It just means your benefits might not be showing up in ways the scan doesn't capture. Might be showing up in, let me say that one more time. I'm reading from my notes. I apologize. So if your bone density numbers don't move much, it doesn't mean your efforts aren't working. It just means your benefits might be showing up in ways that the scan doesn't capture. Do you get that? Okay. Let's keep walking slow. What actually helps strengthen your bones even later in life? This is a good thing to do. You've probably heard it over and over and over again. Strength training with the right amount of load. Bones respond to stress, the healthy kind. This means lifting weights that feel challenging. Those little pink weights, again, if you're just starting out, those are fantastic. That's a challenge for you. But once those start to get easy, you need to find ways to challenge your body. Usually 8 to 12 reps. Oh, here we go. I'm going to take a break. Take a deep breath. Let's do a 1 minute higher interval bone building session. I'm walking downhill, so that is some bone building. You're getting some slamming of your foot down on the ground, or you're doing some stomps or some heel drops, or you're doing a light jog. Taking some breaths in. How's that posture? When you're lifting weights, you want that last two, maybe of an 8 to 12 rep set to be tough, but doable, okay? Exercises that load your spine and hips, like squats, lunges, rows, and presses, they have the most impact, okay? You're using the biggest muscles, and that's going to pull the most on the bones, the bigger bones as well. Okay, let's walk slow. As we did in that last 1 minute interval, another good thing that is good for your bones is adding just a little impact if your joints can take it. Just little small bursts, standing up from your chair and jumping 10 times helps to stimulate bone growth. What we just did, heel drops, marching in place, brisk walking, little jogs. I really want you to make sure you talk to your doctor and they say that's safe for you, because these can make a difference, but they can also hurt you. We do have a member who was told by her doctor never to do stomps. She's got osteoporosis already, so he's worried about her breaking any bones in her feet. So if you are in that osteoporosis score zone, you really do have to think about the impact that you're doing and do it a little bit differently so you don't break a bone. Eat to build, not just maintain your nutrition, okay? Excuse me, your bones. Your bones do need more calcium as you get older. If you're not getting it, this is what I was really eye-opening. If your body doesn't get the calcium through your foods or a supplement that you get, it's going to take it from your bones. So that's why it's depleting your bones when you're getting a little bit older. You're not eating dairy because it doesn't agree with you. You're just not eating healthy because you're trying to lose weight. Your bones do need more calcium, but they also rely on protein, magnesium, vitamin D, vitamin K2, omega-3s, and don't forget total calories. Chronic undereating tells your body to conserve energy, not build bone and tissue. Yes, you can be too thin. You can eat too little calories. It's such a mind shift for us women where we always thought the less is more, but no, more is more when it comes to eating bone healthy, rich foods, okay? Just a little less than a minute, and we're going to do another bone building round. We got two more things. One more thing that does help impact your bone, and that is managing your stress and your sleep, okay? High cortisol, which is our stress hormone, can actually pull calcium out of your bones. I don't know. In the studies that I read, I couldn't find any actual data other than someone saying that, but it made sense. And when we don't sleep well, we miss out on the repair processes that build muscle and bone and restore our hormones. So managing sleep, managing stress is super important to this whole bone building journey that we're on. Okay, pick a bone building move where you just want to pick up the intensity. 1 minute, let's go. Deep breath in, watch that posture. We're coming down the wire here. I think this will be our last bone building event, so make it good. I am going to do another, while you're walking, and I'm just thinking, not looking at my notes, I'm going to do another walk and learn on differences and things you can do in the measurement world, not just the DEXA scan. I talked about the trabecular bone score, TBS score, and there's also something called an Ecolite that's a company that does REMS. I'm not going to remember what REMS stands for. Okay, let's walk slow and then we're going to cool down. Okay, walk slow. What you need to be doing is rescanning at least every 2 years. Not every month. It's going to take you a long time, probably a whole year, before you're going to see any changes to your bone density because it doesn't change very quickly. What I'd like you to do is track progress holistically. Are you lifting heavier weights? When you are doing my strength workouts, it's so cool in the workouts themselves, you can note what weight you used and make sure that when it's getting easy, you're making it a little bit harder. And then also, I want you to measure your posture. I want someone to take a picture of your posture. I want you to put your back up against the wall and try to get your head back there. Watch my measuring your posture video. Do you feel stronger, steadier? Measure your balance. Take my balance test. Those are the things I want you to be measuring because those are going to help you prevent a fracture. These wins matter just as much as that DEXA score, okay? Okay, what we've learned and what I want you to know. First, when I saw my osteopenia result, I felt disappointed. Like all my effort wasn't enough. But over time, I've really come to see it differently. The scan was information, not judgment. They didn't judge me, although it felt like a big fat failure. It helped me understand my body better and gave me a chance to take action before things progressed further. In fact, I'm going to pause right now. If you have young women in your life, the biggest present you can give them when they turn 30 is a DEXA scan. I wish I had had one at in my 30s to know where I actually was at my roughly peak bone mass. The scan was information, not judgment. It helped me understand my blah, blah, blah. Since then, I'm focusing more or less on chasing numbers and more about building habits that support long-term bone strength, lifting weights, getting outside, eating enough, and resting when I need to. So if your DEXA scan results weren't where you hoped them to be, don't give up. You might be doing everything right, but your body is still playing catch up from the earlier years. So stay patient, stay consistent, and remember, the goal isn't just higher density, it's better bone health for life. Okay, we're at the cool down stage, and I'm up at the top of my hill, and what we're going to do is just do some little stretching with my shadow. You don't have to watch me because I didn't get this completely right, and it might make you dizzy. But I want you to take a deep breath in, reach tall, maybe stretch out your upper back, clasping your hands together. If you're watching this and aren't a member right now, you can download my free Stronger Bones Starter Guide. I'll leave the link below. It's a fun guide that steps you through, step by step, how you can get to building stronger bones. All right, another deep breath in. You want to try an inner thigh stretch or a hip flexor stretch or a calf stretch, just anything that feels good. Stretch along with my shadow. I have my phone strapped to a little thing on my chest, so I have to turn to face my shadow so you can see me. I didn't figure that out until later on. But just take some time to calm down. Give your bones some love. Give yourself a pat on the back for doing some bone building movement, getting out and taking a walk, learning something. Knowledge is power. So when you go to your doctor and they tell you all about your T-scores and your Z-scores, you're armed with knowledge to make an informed decision on your next path. Not just throw pills at it. Although those can be helpful, I know they're getting better, but they do have side effects. One last deep breath in. Take another deep, deep breath for me. And out. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.